welcome to In Focus. I'm your host, Yesenia Tavares. And it's that time of year again where we are getting our youth involved into sports this summer. Joining us right now is a gentleman who's making sure that soccer is available to our urban youth as well. It's a very popular sport here in the world, and he's making it available to our urban youth. Welcome to the show, Ty.
Thank you, thank you.
We have here Ty Booker, and we also have here Ruben Saunders, who is a participating member of the league, the Urban Development League. Mm-hmm. So before we get into this league, the importance of getting into extracurricular activities and sports, Ty, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? I know your upbringing was rooted into the city of New York. So let's get a little bit of your perspective of growing up into a city, and then we'll go right into how you made this available for our urban youth.
Sure. So I was born in Brooklyn, New York, East New York, for those who are familiar with the borough of Brooklyn. It is a rougher part of New York City. And in fact, I didn't even know anything about soccer until I moved to Delaware. So growing up there is different. It's probably similar to what people see on TV. It hasn't changed much even today. I don't go back, but I still have some people I grew up with that still live there. Things that I've done there, I learned a lot. Growing up in the streets in lower income communities, it's hard to even talk about it because it's probably exactly what you hear about. It is rough, and I know it's very vague, but that's really it.
It is,
Yeah.
and here we are talking about a sports and activity that you're making available to minority men as well. But let's talk a little bit about how you developed this soccer league.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I said, I didn't know anything about soccer until I was about 14, 15 years old. That's when I moved to Delaware, and I was associated with a club here in Delaware. It was in Newark. It's still there, called Kirkwood. I grew up there playing, and I gravitated towards the sport because I was a natural athlete. I played basketball most of my life when I was in New York, and then the athleticism transferred over easy to soccer. I just had to learn the rules, the different ways to move, and so forth. What happened inspired me to start UADL was I knew growing up in Brooklyn, we only had two options for sports. It was really basketball or football. A little bit of track in there, but that was really it. There was no options in where I grew up of tennis, volleyball, soccer, anything else that you have in the suburban neighborhoods. So I knew that to get into college, there's many ways you can get in. You can get in academically, you can get in on a sports scholarship, or there's maybe some other ways you can get in, grants and so forth, or the most common way is student loans and end up in that student loan debt. So when I ran into a group of kids that usually played at Kirkwood on Sundays, and they called it the Urban League, and it was a lot of African Americans, Latino kids that they have their friends, their family. It was always crowded, but they didn't have the resources to participate in youth soccer at the club level. And the reason why is because youth soccer in this country is very expensive.
That's right.
You're looking at averages of maybe $3,500 a season.
Wow.
And some families just don't have the money to put into that. So a buddy of mine, I approached him and said, you know what? We should start something. These kids, we have the kids right here. The hardest part about youth sports is finding the kid that has a natural love for the game. We can teach you how to play, but we can't give you that genuine inspiration, to say, look, I just want to be out here anyway, right? So we saw these kids, we approached them. It was a risk because we started with 6 players, and then it just blew up into what it is right now, and we're just continuously growing every week. So that's how I started it, and then it's been a little over a year since I got the teams together. Now we have 2 teams, and by the summer we're probably going to have 6, and it's just going to keep growing.
And Ruben's one of the captains of those teams?
Yes, so Ruben's on the 05 team, which is the birth year 2005, so U14s, under 14. And Ruben was with us last year, and I talked to the head of coaching that I have, and I said, look, we started this 05 team. We need some people to take up a leadership role. And we had a conversation with Ruben, and it's a learning process because we're now throwing that on his plate as well, that he has to take that initiative and help grow the other players as well as can grow himself and continue to be a leader. And he also has to balance that with all the other stuff he has going on academically, right?
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that,
Yeah.
Ruben. Let's learn a little bit about who Ruben is. What school do you currently attend?
I'm currently attending Conrad Schools of Science. Yes.
And what's your favorite topic, or what are you trying to learn the most about?
Growing up, I really like science just because I like learning about like why things work the way they do. But I started to develop like a love for math because more in geometry because like I like solving shapes and puzzles and equations.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Does geometry help you in the world of soccer?
I wish.
Angles, where to kick it?
I'm gonna start using that now.
Right. Let's talk a little bit about, so how did you hear about the UADL League, and how did you get involved? Why?
Well, when UADL first started coming up, I just decided that I wanted to take my game to the next level and become a better player. I knew this program was new, but I knew the expectations were bigger, so I thought coming here would help me reach that level and reach my goals.
And Ruben, from the student's perspective, as an athlete, what are some of the things that you can share with us in regards to like how the challenges, how hard it could be to really maintain your academics, because you're on the honor roll in college, they call that the dean's list, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're maintaining your grades and you're doing it based off of your own initiative to make sure that you are excelling academically, but then you're also excelling out on the field as well as the captain of the team. So talk to us a little bit about, are there any challenges that you've faced and how do you handle that?
Yeah, it comes with quite a few challenges actually. One of the most ones is time. When you are a student and an athlete and your athletics take up hours and hours and hours a day, you can lack time to do homework or study or something that could help you get ahead. And I think that the most important thing to do when you're a student athlete is use the time that you're not involved with your sport and try to use that to get ahead in what you're doing in school.
And what are some of the benefits of being involved in a soccer league like this, especially for you as a young minority who's thriving academically and in your community? Like, how important is it to get involved into a sport like this?
I've loved soccer. I have a love for the game. I think getting involved in this is good for me because it improves my condition, my shape, and overall it helps me become more of a team player and how to involve others and not just focus on my personal improvement, but more as a team.
That's wonderful, teamwork, and that's going to carry over into your adult life as well. Have you received any type of discipline or mentoring? When I say discipline, I mean as in structure. Like, has the league taught you about structuring like your schedule, making sure you're there on time, but also going home for homework? Like, have you been disciplined in any way, and have you learned some things?
Yes, I've learned that it's best for school or for practice to show up early, be the first one there and the last one to leave, so that way you improve the most and get your minutes in. And I think that when you play more, then hard work beats talent when talent fails to work hard. So I think if you keep going at it, you'll reach your goals.
And Ty, you're probably very proud right now.
Yeah, he's making me look good. Yeah.
Like, how important is it to be the mentor, especially to another young minority? Like, he's seeing someone like him who's actually propelling him and helping to elevate him in life, both on the academic and athletics sectors. So, like, for you, how important is to make sure that you have other men and minority men mentoring these younger kids, Latinos and African American kids?
It's the number one reason I started this. So Hope Solo did an interview for the women's national team player in 2016 talking about how soccer in this country is looked at as a white affluent sport. And there's so many other people that could benefit from playing as well. And all we're trying to do is give them an option. So when we have a lot of players that look like Ruben and I, and also we have a big Hispanic population as well, that is beneficial to me because it just makes me, I'm always known as that pioneer. I'm trying to change the culture in this country, not just in Delaware. And we're going to start here, but I am trying to get as many people out there that genuinely want to get better at this. So yeah, it's like number one on my list.
And talk to us a little bit about what's going on in these photos here.
Yeah, so this is back when we first started. So we have an agreement or a relationship with Godey Beacom. These are some of their players that came out from the Godey Beacom soccer team. This is after they won the championship in their division, and they decided to come out and help us. And we did like an open day. This is when we first literally just started, and we wanted to get some of the kids from Wilmington to come out and just say, look, we don't care if you play on a team, never kick the soccer ball, come out and just give it a shot. And we got some of the players from Godey to come out there and just give some basic instruction. So you saw a lot of the little kids there. They're just people from all over the city that just came out just to see what we're all about. And that was before we had the competitive teams.
And that's amazing because you have the universities involved, and you're also at some of our local clubs as well, like Frames, Boys and Girls Club. Talk to us a little bit about that, because soccer for some people is seen as just as a seasonal thing.
Right.
But you've made sure to allow UADL to survive throughout the year.
Absolutely.
And there's really not a set location. So you've been going from like the Frames Boys and Girls Club to the Newark Boys and Girls Club and Eden Park here in Wilmington.
Yep.
So talk to us about how that affects your organization, but on the flip side, how you're still able, by moving to these different parks and clubs, get that attraction from the urban youth.
Yeah, so that's the sad part is we don't have a location. So, but we've gotten a partnership with the Boys and Girls Club, and that allows us, so in the off season, which most people would stop playing, is the winter, because snow and it's too cold to play outside. Well, we're allowed to play there inside to continue to train. And they've been fortunate enough to partner with us, where it also is an added benefit for our players, because if they need tutoring, they have mentorship programs there. If they need, they have a youth teen center at the Frame Center here in Wilmington. The one in Newark, they've never actually had a soccer program. So they had the space in the back of the Boys and Girls Club, but they've never had anybody formally utilize it. So we're allowed to go down there and actually be like the soccer arm of the Boys and Girls Club. So that's awesome. But that brings, the other issue is we're growing so fast, and the Boys and Girls Club has their own challenges, but at a point we're going to be too big for that. So it is important for us to get our own facility so we're not bouncing around, which can be a problem for some of the families. We're not consistently in one space. So that's one of the challenges we face now.
And what have you witnessed or experienced working at these different facilities?
We've moved from Boys and Girls Club to one in Bear. It's been difficult to reach it, but I know in the long journey it'll be worth it. It's like a 40-minute drive away, but my parents, thankfully enough, are able to provide me with transportation, and we can make training every day.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And Ruben, let's talk. You mentioned earlier about teamwork, and you're like building these bonds and friendships and a sense of brotherhood with these other players on the team. What does your friends think about you playing in this sport?
I try to be a leader to them, help them make the right decisions. If we get frustrated about something, we try to forget about it and just move on ahead and try to get the team win.
And how important is it to be like the leader? Because in many sports you have the quarterback, the MVP, but a lot of people might be scared or timid to play that role or fulfill that role. But here you've stepped up and you're okay with being the leader and bringing other people up. Talk to us a little bit about that.
I think it's important to be a leader, not only because you have bigger expectations out of yourself, but you orchestrate things. And I think that the way you control your teammates will have a big impact on what happens in the game. So if you're not being vocal enough or telling your teammates what job they need to be do, then you're suffer as your team. But if you're a good leader and you're doing your job and making sure the whole team does their job, then they'll perform well.
And you have friends here in Wilmington as well?
Yes.
What do they think about you playing the sport of soccer? Because, a lot of homes here, there's an inner city, and so playing on the streets, there's no really big backyard to play and kick the ball around. So what's that look like?
Oh, well, most of my friends in Wilmington play basketball, but they've accepted me for being a soccer player because I know it's a different sport and it's not really popular in the area that I live in, but I try to get them into a few things, and they try to teach me a few things as well.
And how do you, as the coach and the director behind this whole program, get kids like Ruben in the city of Wilmington involved into playing soccer?
Hard work. Every weekend is a soccer weekend for me, so I have to sacrifice some of my social life. I'm going to wherever I can find kids that are playing. So like how I found Ruben, he was playing a game on a Sunday, and I stopped there and I talked to his mom.
Was the game on the streets?
No, it was in the field.
In the field? Okay.
I would love to do that. That would be great.
Because I'm trying to visualize, like, it's so hard to see.
No, we don't see a lot of that in this country, where kids are just playing out in the street. But no, I go to wherever there's games, recreational games, and then I just look and see who's out there, and I literally just watch. And then if I see a kid that has the potential and they're really like, I can tell that, just a little bit of coaching, they probably can have go somewhere with this. And I talk to them and I ask. So every one of the kids so far, I've met with their parents, and it's like I'm a recruiter. I just go out there and I just talk to them and say, look, what do you play for? Why are you playing? And I want to hear their answer. Because if they say, well, I love playing the game, I'm like, that's what I want to hear. Something along those lines. Because I can work with you if you love the game. I can't work with you if you're just out here just because your friends are here, because it's going to be hard for you to be committed. Because I put these guys through a lot. And hopefully we'll get some girls in the summer. That's the next plan. But so far we only have the boys, and I put them through a lot. I have my coaches, and I tell them to push them as hard as they can, because every one of them, and you'll agree, I ask you, what do you want to do? And most of them, I think 90% of them say they want to go to college. I'm like, well, if you're saying that, I'm going to hold you to that. So if you do something and your attitude's off that day, I'm going to remind you. You say you want to go to college. You want to play in college. Not with that attitude, right? So our program is not just about playing. We are trying to structure them to be future leaders, which is a part of our mission. So that's how I find them. I don't let any of them join unless their parents and the players both agree to how we structure things and the fact that we play all year.
And Ty, what I like about you and your initiative in this program, as we just heard Ruben share, thank God for his mother to provide the transportation to and from the practice and home. But you and your team, the other men who have joined forces with you to make this happen, have actually gone out of your pocket to make sure that these kids have this opportunity, both to play uniform-wise, structure, transportation, and membership. The membership is pretty low, the lower than all of those major leagues here in Delaware. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Okay, so we came up, so youth soccer is expensive, right? And it's not just paying the coaches. Right now, all my coaches are unpaid. I hope to change that in the future because they are putting a lot of time in. But the costs really come from tournaments and the league registration. They do cost a lot. We fronted a lot, and then we have a team due of $84 a month. The lowest I've seen, at least in this state, is about $1,600, and that's for a season. And that only guarantees you about 2 practices and then 1 tournament. We have a goal of doing about 6 tournaments a year per team.
Wow.
We practice right now 4 days a week. Because I try to replicate what they do in other countries, like in Europe or in South America or in different countries in Africa. These kids are playing all year. Soccer's not, like you said earlier, it's not a seasonal sport. So that's why I said I'm very selective on who I invite to be a part of our program, because it's not for recreational players who just want to play something in the fall, then they play something in the spring, and they play something in the summer. I need you here because we're putting a lot of our time into it, and we're trying to develop you into being college athletes and trying to get you into college hopefully on a scholarship. So yeah, our fees are low because it's not about the money. It's really about these guys.
But a lot of people don't hear that. That's why I wanted you to share that, because a lot of organizations, especially the bigger ones, they get sponsorship, right? They get grants, and they get big corporations like, I don't want to name certain banks, to cut them a check and help them.
Right.
But here, you're really doing this. You grew up in Brooklyn, as you said yourself, and you're helping our city kids here in Wilmington to have this opportunity to excel in this sport.
Yes.
That's wonderful.
Thank you.
What would you like to share to that city kid here in Wilmington who's watching this show right now and is looking at you and is kind of hesitant or timid to play the sport of soccer?
You should join UADL because they're definitely welcoming, and they're like a family because they sorry.
Oh, that's good. No.
I didn't tell him to say that.
They're like a family.
Well, he feels that way.
Yeah.
That's the most important.
Yeah, my teammates are like brothers, and they'll definitely help you reach your goals and reach your dreams.
That's amazing. And what's your why, Ty? Like, share with us your why and why it's important to invest in our inner city kids.
Yeah, I'm one of them, right? Not from Wilmington, but I grew up in an inner city. My whole mission is to give these guys an opportunity that I didn't have. I had a good support system from my family, but I didn't have what I'm doing for them. I didn't have that as an option, but I still made it. But I'm trying to make sure they all have the same opportunity that sometimes the urban kids do not have.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us today on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'll be rooting for you guys. Goal, 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 right?
2 games this weekend, yes.
And the weather's going to break out
Yep.
shortly, too. So I'm looking for an amazing season.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Continue. And on behalf of all of us here at WITN 22, I'd like to say thank you so much for watching. I've been your host, Yesenia Tavares.